There's a hair on your lens. I'm just telling you.
Do I really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if it would matter, but...
Yep.
Hey everyone, welcome to Advance Online. My name is Taylor and I work at our Ballantyne campus. So we're all known for something, right? I mean, Billie Eilish is known for her green hair. Mike Senator? Not really sure, but he's known at Ardrey Kell for doing the bottle flip game. And then we've got Cam Newton, who's known for almost bringing us to Super Bowl victory and then, you know, just stabbing us in the back and going for the Patriots. Still getting over that. I don't know about anyone else, but you get the point. Everybody is known for something. In your family, in your school, in your church even, everybody is known for things, sometimes things that they messed up in, basically for their sin. So sin is just anything that separates us from God. It's anything outside of God's original plan for us. And let me get this straight. We all sin, myself included. I mess up all the time. So we can be defined by our sin, but we can also be defined by our circumstances. And sometimes we have no control over them. It could be a messy divorce. It could be your family having money, your family not having money. It could be the school you go to. Pretty much anything you can be defined by. But there's nothing worse than being defined by something that you can't control. So if I think about somebody from the Bible who is defined by both their sin and their circumstances, Moses is pretty close to the top of my list. But before we start talking about Moses, I'm going to share with you a dad joke. Here we go. How does Moses make his coffee? He brews it. I know, you're laughing. I can hear it. Great. If you didn't get it, or you have no idea who Moses is, and all you really know about him is something with the Red Sea parting, or some plagues, and some flies, and putting some blood over doors, that's okay. Here is a quick overview of Moses' story. Thousands of years ago, the Egyptians had enslaved all of the Hebrew people as laborers, and they were not treated well. Moses was a Hebrew child, and at the time, the Pharaoh, that's the king of Egypt, wanted to kill all of the baby boys. So his mom put him in a basket and sent him down the river, and he's found by the Pharaoh's daughter, and then he's raised as Egyptian royalty with Ramses as his brother. So this guy is going to be the future king, the future pharaoh. That's important. We're going to read from the Bible to continue the story. Many years later, when Moses had grown up, he went out to visit his own people, the Hebrews, and he saw how they were forced to work. During his visit, he saw an Egyptian beating one of his fellow Hebrews. After looking in all directions to make sure no one was watching, Moses killed the Egyptian and hid the body in the sand. The next day, when Moses went out to visit his people again, he saw two Hebrew men fighting. "Why are you beating up your friend?" Moses said to the one who had started the fight. The man replied, "Who appointed you to be our prince and judge? Are you going to kill me as you killed that Egyptian yesterday?" Then Moses was afraid, thinking, "Everyone knows what I did." And sure enough, Pharaoh heard what had happened, and he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh, and he went to live in the land of Meridian. Moses ran away, and he probably thought that he was going to live in exile and never return to Egypt for the rest of his life. But then God spoke to him through a burning bush. So this is part of what God said to him. "The cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abuse them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt." So God sends Moses to Pharaoh 10 times to ask him to release his people, and 10 times Pharaoh says no. So then God releases all these crazy plagues onto the Egyptians. I mean, there's locusts, frogs, and flies, and a whole lot of other ones. So after the 10th time that Moses goes to Pharaoh, he finally agrees to let the Hebrews go. The Hebrews are excited to leave Egypt, they're packing up everything, and they're getting on their way. But then Pharaoh realizes, well, I don't have anyone to build my tombs anymore, and I really wanted a third one, and I don't have anyone to make my statues. Well, this isn't gonna work. So then Pharaoh goes after the Hebrews and Moses, and he wants to bring them all back to Egypt and enslave them again. So God uses Moses again to split the Red Sea in two, and they get to walk across the sea floor to safety. And that was a lot, but I really wanted you guys to have a pretty basic understanding of the story of Moses so that we can put it all together and focus on his sin and his circumstance. So first, let's talk about Moses' circumstances. So these were things that Moses could not control. He was adopted, and that was not his choice. He didn't choose to get put in that basket. He did not choose to become Egyptian royalty, so that was a circumstance. He was said to be a stutterer. He was raised to see the Hebrews as slaves and see them as beneath him, and he was also judged and labeled by the Hebrews for being Egyptian royalty. So now let's talk about his sin, and he had plenty of them. He was a murderer, he was a coward. Moses was labeled in so many different ways. Some of them were by choice, by his own sin and mistakes that he made, and some of them were just his circumstances that he had no control over. But here's the point, God can use all of it. He can use our screw-ups and he can use our circumstances all for his glory, and that's exactly what he did with Moses. Because the truth is, no matter your upbringing, no matter your circumstances, God can use all of it for his glory and for his plan. Moses lived a really privileged life. He grew up in a palace. He also grew up not believing in God, but yet when God presented himself to him, Moses didn't bury his sin. He didn't hide himself. He laid it all down for God, and he allowed God to use him to complete his plan. So Moses went to Pharaoh, and he was able to leverage his privilege. He was able to leverage his circumstances. Do you think Pharaoh would have just let nobody come into his palace and talk to him? No, but he would let his brother come in. So if Moses hadn't been raised as an Egyptian, he would not have been the right person for the job. God can use everything about you. Maybe you're holding on to your shame. Maybe you're holding on to all your mistakes from the past. Maybe you feel like Moses did when he got called out as a murderer and you just want to run away from it all. But what could happen if we just laid it all out to God? What could happen if we let God see our sin, let him take our circumstances and use it for his plan? And what would happen if we ask God to help us see ourselves the way that he sees us? When we open up to God and let him see all of our shame, all of our sin, God can build on it and use it to change our lives and to change the lives of people around us. So don't bury what God can build on. That's exactly what God did with Moses. He built on his sin, his mistakes, his circumstances, and he used them to save an entire nation. So this week, let's ask ourselves, what am I tempted to bury? What am I tempted to hide? And instead of hiding behind it, let's bring it to God and allow him to build on what we want to bury. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.